have something that looks like this, let's say, right? We said that, what can we find from this equation? So you can find your transformations, but what else can you find from this equation? The vertex. And what was the vertex? H and K, which is 3 and 1 in this case, right? So we said that, we talked about this, and we said that when it looks like this, or when it looks like this, right? That's the same format, but I use numbers, right? Then this, I can find the vertex from this.
Sorry, I got confused. The vertex is negative 3, 1, or positive 3, 1?
What do you guys think? Say it out loud. Positive 3 and 1. Okay? Okay? So, remember that we said that we can find the vertex, and the vertex is the H and K from this equation. That's why we call this form, so if I'm saying show me the vertex form, this is called the vertex form because I can find the vertex from it. Okay? That's why this is called the vertex form. Okay? Okay? Now, you have to know that when I ask you to find an equation in vertex form, I'm looking for a form that looks like exactly like this. Y equals A, x minus h squared plus k, where A, h, and k are numbers. Okay? Now we're going to have to look at, if I give you points, or if I give you a graph, how can you find the equation for me? Okay? So what we've done so far is I give you an equation, and I tell you, okay, state the transformation. So you say vertical stretch, horizontal translation, vertical translation, whatever. And then I ask you to graph. Okay? And then to graph, you start with the vertex, and then you use your step pattern to graph your next point. Do you guys remember that? All right. Now, we're going to work backward. Now I'm going to give you points, and you're going to have to find me the equation. Or I'm going to give you a graph, and then you're going to have to find me the equation. Okay? So now we're working backward. Okay? So, here's the lesson. The vertex of a parabola is 3 and negative 7. It also passes through the point 1 and negative 5. State the equation of the quadratic. So I gave you 2 points, and now I want you to state the equation. Because the vertex is given to you, then what form do you start with? Because the vertex is given to you, what's the form that you're going to use?
To substitute h and k.
Okay, my question is, and put your hand up please if you have an answer. Since I've given you the vertex, what form are you going to use? The vertex form. Remember that I told you that at the beginning, there is going to be 3 different forms that we're going to talk about. Okay? If I'm giving you the vertex, then you have to start with the vertex form. Okay? So far, we've only talked about the vertex form. But then later in the exam, you're going to have to know which one to use. Okay? Now, stating the vertex form, you always want to start by stating the equation y equals ax minus h squared plus k. The question gave me a vertex and a point. I have to start with a vertex. Okay? So, 3 and negative 7 represent, put your hand up please if you have an answer. 3 and negative 7 represents what in the equation?
The optimal value and axis of symmetry.
What does it represent in the equation?
H and K.
Put your hand up please.
H and K.
H and K. Okay? So, the vertex represents the letter H and K in the equation. Okay? That's right. They do represent the axis of symmetry and the optimal value, but now what I care about is what letter am I going to replace? Okay? So you see that right here, I'm going to replace H and K with 3 and negative 7. Do you see what happened? Okay, so H was replaced with 3 and K was replaced with negative 7. Now y equals ax minus 3 squared minus 7. Is this an equation that I'm looking for? Or is there something else that I need to look for? Can I leave it like this and then just move on? So if I give you something like this, you can graph for me? What would be your step pattern?
1, 3, 5.
What's wrong with the value of A? Do we know it?
No.
Do we have to know it?
Yes.
Yes. Otherwise, your graph is not complete, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't know what step pattern to use. Yes, your original step pattern is 1, 3, 5, but what if it's multiplied by 2? What if it's flipped, right? I need to know the A value, right? So I still have to solve for the A. I am not done yet. And that's why they gave me another point, okay? They gave me another point so I can use it to solve for A. Now the other point, we're gonna call it X and Y, right? It's a point, so this is gonna be X, this is gonna be Y, okay? So we're gonna replace the X and the Y in the equation with the values, okay? So Y is negative 5, so it's gonna be replaced, Y is gonna be replaced by negative 5, and X is going to be replaced by 1. Now if you look at this equation that I just wrote, there's only A that's a letter, okay? So I can do the math to isolate for A, okay? What's the first thing you want to do?
Get rid of what's in the brackets.
Yes, so simplify the brackets. 1 minus 3, that's negative 2. Anyone have questions about this? Are we okay with that? So I just subtracted 1 minus 3. Then what do I do next?
Square the negative 2.
Square the negative 2, and what does that give me?
Positive 4.
So that's going to be negative 5 equals to 4a, right? Because negative 2 squared, that's 4. So that's 4 times a minus 7. Are we okay with that? Are we okay with that? What's the problem with that? What's the problem?
I'll get it eventually.
Okay, so what I'm doing here is right now I'm simplifying, okay? So BEDMAS tells me that I have to simplify inside my brackets first. So that's why I did 1 minus 3 first, okay? Then BEDMAS says, well, you have to get rid of the exponent. To get rid of the exponent, you do negative 2 squared, which is negative 2 times negative 2, and that gives you 4, okay? So I have A4. We don't usually write the letter and then the number. We usually write the number first, right? So that's why I wrote it as 4A, okay? But remember that my ultimate goal is to isolate for A, okay? So I want to leave A by itself. Now how do I leave A by itself? Bring over what first? The negative 7, right? The last thing you get rid of is whatever is with the letter, okay? So first you're going to bring the negative 7 over, so that's going to become plus 7, right? So it's going to be 2 equals to 4a. Then what do? Divide by 4. Because remember, you're getting rid of whatever's with the A. So you have to move the 4 over, and that's going to become divided by 4. So you're going to bring the 4 over, and that's going to become 2 divided by 4 equals A. So A equals 2 1/2. So now looking back, I'm going to go back to this step, and then I'm going to replace A with 1/2. So that's going to be y equals 1/2 x minus 3 squared minus 7.
In this case, could we use, instead of using half, could we use it 0.5?
Yes, you can. Okay? So what we did here is we used the given information to find the equation. Okay? So you see I found the equation in vertex form. Right? I know that the vertex is 3 and -7. I put the vertex in first. Then I use the other point, which is the x and y, to find the A value. Okay? The math process you have to get used to. A lot of people mess up in this process right here. Are you done? I don't want to be with you. A lot of people mess up in this process right here. Okay? How to isolate for A. So make sure you learn that part. Okay? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to pair up with another person. Okay? And I want you to try the second example. Make sure you read the question very carefully. I want you to do this example. I want you to explain, take turns, explaining to each other what you did. Okay? Using your words is important. Okay? Explaining using words is important. Because that will get you, thinking about it when you're doing the question on the test or on the homework. Okay? So pair up. You're going to do the work first. Then you're going to explain to the other person what you did. And then the other person can explain the third example. So we have the 2 examples here. This one, and then we have this one. Okay? So one explain example 2, and the other one explain example 3.